I recently visited the Armenian Library and Museum of America in Watertown, Massachusetts, and had a chance to experience In Memoriam, its exhibit and memorial about the Armenian genocide. The genocide exhibit is designed to memorialize the innocent victims of the first genocide of the 20th century and suggests that understanding the genocide is an important step in preventing similar tragedies in the future. It stands as a warning that those that forget the past are condemned to repeat it. In so doing, the memorial inflicts a sense of turning memory into action, to think of Lupu, through informative texts and maps, while expressing a sense of melancholy and reverence for the dead through the layout of the memorial, lighting, and music. In 1939, Eater asked, "Who today remembers the extermination of the Armenians?" This piece serves to question how today the extermination of the Armenians is memorialized. The curator of the museum, Mr. Gary Lynn Sinanian, shared some insight into the process of developing the genocide exhibit, which is considered to be a memorial rather than a didactic exhibit. He also curated a larger didactic exhibit in the main gallery of the Alma several years ago using 25 artifacts. He presumed that people relate to objects and cited a quote from Joseph Stalin that a single death is a tragedy, a million deaths are a statistic, to explain why he wanted the exhibit to recall personal individual tragedies. While the center hopes to represent 3,000 years of artistic and social accomplishments, the presentation of and for Armenians is impossible without giving proper recognition to the genocide carried out against Armenians by the Turkish government from 1915 to 1922. The deaths of more than 1.2 million Armenians are largely ignored and denied by the Turkish government even until today. The memorial exhibit is located on the second floor of the museum and was the result of a project enacted by the local Armenian community as a memorial, with a budget of about $7,000. Silhouettes reminiscent of Armenians on a forced march lead up stairs and into a cave-like corridor. The corridor walls are hung with quotes from the concerned international community at the time regarding the mass murder of Armenians, as well as short statements about statistics or events during the years of the genocide and beyond. A turn to the right reveals an inner sanctum which houses 4 artifacts behind glass on sand, representative of the last artifacts to remain of an Armenian who might have perished on a forest march in the Syrian desert. A bench sits across from the display, and an unlit candle and duduk, traditional Armenian music, set a scene of mourning and contemplation. The few artifacts in the memorial are very striking for their placement at a site of contemplation and on sand as they were found, as many Armenians were deported to relocation centers in the Syrian and Mesopotamian deserts, and in the explanation in their accompanying labels. A set of clothes, boys' Armenian clothes, was donated to keep for future generations, lest people forget. Also on display were bone fragments collected from the Syrian desert and a site known as a killing site during the genocide, and a dog collar and an 18th century Bible. Now, looking at these artifacts with Corte in mind, you think of mementos coming to function ultimately as material proof of a person's existence. These objects really do embody a last link, and they are kind of replacing a gravestone and becoming aids to mourning, particularly as they are set on a bed of sand as if someone had come across them in the Syrian desert just as they were left. A few questions to consider after attending this exhibit and memorial might be, are the artifacts the only distinctly Armenian part of the memorial? The rest of the memorial talks about genocide, situating the Armenian example in the history of genocide, a term which didn't come about until the 1940s and was retroactively applied to the Armenian situation. So are the artifacts the only distinctly Armenian part of the memorial? Could a didactic exhibit have as much impact without personal artifacts? The curator spoke of his previous exhibit with 25 artifacts, and this